Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Cocktail Classified. We are here in Denver with my friends from the Yacht Club. This will be our first episode at a bar. Which is really exciting. So yeah, you guys are going to be the first. So.
Wow.
Awesome. So let's get into it. So who are you guys? Where are you from? What are we doing here?
Oh my gosh. My name is McLain Hedges. This is my both life partner and my wife and my partner in this life at Yacht Club as well.
Yeah.
This is Mary Allison Wright over here, the legendary.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
We're both from Chattanooga, Tennessee originally. She kind of grew up all over the place with her mom, who was in the Navy. So they ended up in Chattanooga, Tennessee when she was younger, and I kind of grew up there with my family. And over time, we ended up finding one another. Actually, we a little tidbit, we first kind of met, which we didn't even know. We were in the same first grade class together, and
That's
we
cool.
we found that out years after we had been dating, and we've been together for 22 years. So this has been quite a journey in our life together, and we kind of found ourselves in Denver, Colorado 14 years ago, and it has been a wild ride since. So
That's
We
awesome.
didn't find ourselves here. We there was a little bit more that went into it. But
sure,
Yeah.
We find ourselves here now for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Okay. When did you get into hospitality? What kind of drove you into working in
think-
hospitality?
Probably for both of us since forever. The first memories I have are wanting to take care of people, and I was obsessed with food and eating, and my best friend and I used to steal soft drinks and beers from her dad and set up a little bar and essentially sell them back to them, you know. And my very first job was volunteering at the Children's Discovery Museum in Chattanooga, specifically to be around the food portion so that I could both eat and serve people food. And I think for McLain, similar but different.
Yeah. I absolutely was in the bar business as early about 5 or 6. Similar situation. Yeah. We used to, our lemonade stand was called McLain's Beverage Emporium, and I had my best friend Will Jones as manager. We just found those pictures recently, and they're pretty hilarious. But really, foreshadowing. Yeah, exactly. Nothing's changed. But my mom's family, specifically my aunt and her daughter's own catering business in Virginia, and I grew up there for a little bit when I was a kid after my parents got divorced, and it was the one place I really found I love to get out and cause some trouble, but it was the one place that I'd found myself that when maybe I was up to enough of that trouble, my mom was like, "Yeah, you should go hang out with them, and they'll put you to work and take some of that time up." And and it was something I fell in love with. And I mean, I always remember as a kid, big family gatherings every week, backyard, a lot of people being entertained, and we would always find ourselves sneaking around, getting into a little bit of mischief with all the cousins and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it was all about food, all about taking care of each other and hosting each other and showing each other real hospitality. And it opened up a lot of great memories in my life, and I think we carried those, both of us have carried, I think, some of those early memories with us most of our life, and they kind of resurface themselves in new forms of inspiration all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of people, both of our first jobs were in restaurants. That's normally in everyone's first job,
pre-college and
retail or restaurants or something. But both of us really loved it, and he started in the back of house and I was in the front of house. But that was not necessarily a passion then, right? It was just a job with a really fun community and friends built in. And I think that laid the foundation subconsciously of what it could be or what it is going to be. But we both really loved to see live music, and we went on tour with a few bands for fun. It was work, eat, sleep, go on tour, repeat, because we were young, and we wanted to figure out a way to be able to legitimize that. And so we started a music promoting company out of college, but that ended up being an elaborate excuse to travel to eat and drink.
Okay.
And so we were like, what are we doing? We should just be in hospitality for food and beverage. And we our time with music promotion was hospitality focused on like guest experience, artist experience. So it, in a lot of ways, like still was like tangential, but if a little different.
And it just happened to be at a time when like the beverage scene, this was 06, 07, 08, when the beverage scene was really taking off again, and when people
like the
were
so-called cocktail renaissance was like
happening.
full force. Beginning days of PDT and Patterson House and all of those, and
yeah, I mean, it's like the iconic bars of first movers of the New York scene in a lot of ways, as well as like Atlanta and Nashville they were equally as I think exciting at the time, and those were markets that we hung out in a lot, and there were certainly people there, Greg Best of Ticonderoga Club, and a number of other big Kelly Thorne, and a number of other people who have
Matt Togo.
Matt Togo from Patterson House, and that team on the original side of were incredible hospitality professionals. They were opening their door to, I think a lot of new experiences for people, but they were also willing to, we would show up at their bar all the time late at night or first ones in the afternoon, and we'd be there, hours on end and bothering them and getting in their way and totally falling in love with
the people.
And
they made sure to always, no matter what, invite us or make us feel in on it. Or like, obviously you're a part of this, even if you don't work here or necessarily in this industry. They were so impactful to that time in our lives and why we ended up exiting music to open a bar.
And it was kind of like, I mean, when we were ready to get out of the music industry and we put our house on the market, and we were like, we'll see what happens. And like 2 days later, we did not have a house anymore, and we were faced with we knew we loved Denver, we knew we loved Colorado. We'd been out here many years within the music industry, coming out and with a lot of our friends, and obviously we'd stay here for a few days for some work end of things, and then we'd extend that stay for pleasure, and we'd stay out longer and longer, and we met amazing people in this community and hospitality. Sean Kenyon was one of the first people who really opened his door to us. We found each other out of happenstance coming out here for a show. We needed a place to eat. It was New Year's. It was the night before New Year's. But we were coming out here for some music, and we found this spot that we're like, it's got to be something open. We were driving through a snowstorm. We get in, and we found Sean and this crew at what was the Squeaky Bean. And they were pushing boundaries harder than a lot of people were in some of the biggest markets with the most, well-known restaurants and bars in the world at the time. And it was so cool to see something, happening in a city that was so youthful in its scene. And we knew that
Sean and Nick Touch and that whole crew, we found that same sense that we had in Atlanta and Nashville of like, welcome in, stay as long as you want, you're in on it, you're invited. These aren't closed doors.
We ate family meal with them the first night we went to their bar. It was like immediately felt like we belonged here. And so it wasn't long after that we ended up packing all of our stuff up and throwing it in a van and driving out here and double parking it for a week without any real plan other than we knew we wanted to be out here, and we knew that hospitality was the reason we wanted to do it. So
shout out to our cat for living in a hotel room for a week.
I gotcha. Yeah, for sure. So you guys have kind of been ingrained in Southern hospitality. It sounds like the rest, because I grew up in New Mexico as well, and it's very prevalent, I think, for among us here in this South States.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's not necessarily in the South to learn more of the hospitality culture? Because if you go to like New York and to the East Coast, it's not necessarily as warm of a hospitality culture as you would find here in like Denver, in Texas, in Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia.
I think it's that spirit exists everywhere, but I think at the end of the day, the thing that makes it so intoxicating or like like warm is that you're doing it not you're doing it for everyone, right? But you're getting this like really great feeling in return. So it's this mutual exchange. You're sharing something to have that shared with you. It's just to take care of people is to take care of yourself. And so I think at the end of the day, if that's what you're in it for, that's what you're going for first, and everything else is extra, drinks, whatever. You'll find yourself in that thought of hospitality and that style.
And I think true hospitality breaks down a lot of barriers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there's sometimes our barriers to entry in certain aspects of life in general, as well as hospitality. But I think Southern hospitality does a really good job of accepting people for who they are and welcoming them with open arms.
Yeah.
So I think Southern hospitality is a really great example of, I think, what pure hospitality
making
is
someone
all
a
about.
plate.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what time of day, no matter
Hold a door
what
for
we've got
them.
going on.
Yeah.
You know, simple things.
Yeah.
Thoughtful things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Usually it's the thought about someone else before it's the thought about yourself. So, but like you said, you put that out there, it's what gets returned to you. So.
Yeah. Awesome. So you talked about how you started in music. You went into hospitality. You came to Denver.
Yeah.
You landed in Denver. What happened after you landed in Denver? How did Yacht Club become a thing?
Oh, God.
How do we get to Yacht Club?
Oh, yeah.
So we drove out in February, which is a terrible time to move, especially to Colorado, and stayed in a hotel room for a week. And we spent a cold, miserable week trying to find a place to live. There are not many places to rent that time of year. It turns out there's a reason why everyone moves in certain months. That's just the way that the market works. But so we thought maybe we would have to sign a short-term lease and just live in a place that that was fine. We'll deal with it and we'll keep looking. And so we took ourselves to lunch at Steuben's and got cocktails and prepared to sign this lease of a place we didn't want to live in. And the people next to us decided to share their punch bowl. And we ended up bonding with them and finding out that one of them was a butcher and working in there's Alex Jump, famous bartender.
Yeah.
Best friend.
Yeah.
They shared their punch bowl. We found out that they were about to open a pickle company. Pickles are my favorite food. These people were amazing. They kind of lifted our spirits. We got really boozy at lunch. And in that time, a place popped up on Craigslist. So this is ancient times and the before time. And
Craigslist.
They never advertised that way. And it looked really cool. And so we were like, all right, let's drive over there after we'd sobered up. So we drove over there and it was this really cool layout and really cool people. And it wasn't a big box apartment building. It had all these quirks and there was so much character and it was very artsy. And we were like, this is so cool. And there's a restaurant on site. And so we signed immediately. Sure. And that ended up being the catalyst for everything that has happened to us in Denver, or that we've, worked for and been able to make happen. And it all started with the restaurant on site called Fuel Cafe. RIP. It was this absolutely ahead of its time, beautiful place. Truly Chez Panisse, farm to table style, respectful of the ingredients and produce and people. And McLain's first job out here was on the line, and I volunteered with the wine program because they couldn't hire anyone, and I was hungry for experience and to meet people. And so that Fuel Cafe ended up being a further catalyst with connecting us with a lot of people outside of that. However, the developers of where we lived, it's called the Taxi Complex. We met and they're so cool. They're a few years older than us, so not far off our age. And Kyle Zebin was like, I'm opening a market hall. I'd love for y'all to come look at it if you want to open a bar. Consider it, just to see if it's something you'd be interested in.
Yeah.
And we ended up not doing a bar originally, but opening up our bottle shop. It was called The Proper Pour. So a very tightly curated wine and spirits, 50-50 split almost, with a very small selection of beer and bar tools and things like that and books. I'm sorry, I feel like I've been talking nonstop.
No, you're killing it.
You're great. No,
honestly.
So less than a year. So we all signed 5-year leases to begin. There were several anchor restaurants in our bottle shop and a distillery tasting room, bakery, true market hall. And less than a year into the 5-year lease, the space in the middle of the distillery bar vacated and left their lease. And it was very detrimental to all these new businesses to have this dud space, especially in the middle of the building.
Yeah.
And so they offered to us if we wanted to try to do a bar there. And being the young idiots that we were, and only a few feet from our other business, we were like, why not? It's now or never. And so we took it over, and that ended up being Yacht Club 1.0, or Rhino Yacht Club as it was called at the time. And it was essentially operating a pop-up bar for a little over 4 years.
Okay. Okay.
Kiosk in the middle of a giant building.
Yeah. Truly a mall kiosk.
Okay.
It had everything wrong with it. Everything you could gripe about with a space.
Yeah.
That's what we
Lack
had.
of infrastructure, designed horribly.
Terrible plumbing.
Yeah. I mean, no walls, no doors, 45 different kinds of music playing from every angle.
The people that came to us are literal angels and saints, and like, sat there because they wanted to experience what we were doing and not because it was in some like comfortable, cruel space.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely like a test of everything and everyone. And when our lease was up in 2019 in February, we were like, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been real. I love you. I'll see you soon. And Alex works there. She's actually opening her own bar, Peach Face Club.
Yes, I know. Yeah, that's very exciting. Yes.
But so we spent all of 2019 and the beginning of 2020 looking at a bar space to carry on Yacht Club. And we went pretty far down the rabbit hole with a few lost the lease or, the LOI like didn't work out or whatever. And that, I don't know if anyone remembers what happened in March of 2020, but like it was a huge blessing that we were not trying to open a bar.
Well, we were trying.
Yeah, we were trying, but it didn't pan out. So major blessing. And we ended up finding, or getting approached for this space, in maybe the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, something like that. And we were like, Yacht Club, that's crazy. It's such a distant memory.
Well, I mean, at the time we had, been obviously trying to figure out how we're surviving through this,
new phase of the world.
New phase of the world. Our only retirement ever. We were trying to kind of figure out what, obviously what we're doing. And we had this really important project that kind of is a sort of a bridges the gap between a number of things we'll talk about probably here shortly. But it was called Door Prize, and it was this meet and three sort of, it was a pop-up series that we were doing to raise some money for ourselves, our team, that we were all like looking for an ability to work together and keep that together. And her brother was also doing this with us, and it was essentially he and I were doing the food portion of it. And then Mary and one of our other crew members they were kind of running the front of house and doing beverage, and but we were feeding people and doing like a pay what you can model and donating a lot of money to both local bars, local charities, and again trying to paying musicians who were out
entertainment for people.
And so that kind of gave us and we were looking kind of coming out of it. We had done probably 11 or 12 of them, and they were wildly successful, and we're like, hell yeah, we built this new brand, like one day we'll maybe be able to do this
and like deeply care about it too.
Right? And it was definitely like things that are extremely important to us and things that, kind of took us back to like the grassroots of things in a lot of ways. And, it gave us an opportunity to, we were like coming out of the pandemic sort of, and we were like looking for a space, and we were looking for a space for that project actually. And Yacht Club had sort of been a little bit of a distant memory, and was sort of, I would say, put on the back burner for a number of reasons, and specifically because we were looking for that. But the most important part, I think, of finding Yacht Club was like the opposite of what the source was. We wanted like amazing bones with our own walls and doors. We wanted to find an old neighborhood bar or a space that was in a neighborhood that was part of a community. But those things are hard to ask for. But at the time, there weren't a lot of people looking for spaces. So I think, within the patience and the actual timing, it allowed us to find what now is Yacht Club. And that was through, we were looking for the space that needed a kitchen. This space didn't have a kitchen. It couldn't have a kitchen. It just wasn't possible with the size.
Hence the hot dogs.
Hence the hot dogs. But also like, the full kind of relook back at what would Yacht Club be if it were in its forever home. And the restaurant next door, Brasserie Brixton, another amazing restaurant, they opened right before the pandemic, and we're going through, obviously, I think, not only is opening a restaurant hard, opening it during what was the pandemic, and probably one of the most challenging times for a lot of people. They kind of were making it work for themselves next door, and they had this space, and they were like, we are not ready to even think about getting this open until we get that open for real. And it was just Christian, our director of operations, lives right across the street. And we ended up hanging out with the guys next door a good bit and chatting and, having dinners together, and became close and started talking about the idea of what this would look like. And they are working both, they are part of the hospitality scene, but two of the partners are also architect and one of the most skilled builders and welders I've ever seen in my entire life. But they kind of helped us navigate some of the build out process.
Yeah.
Started getting some of the things, and the whole crew, while we had all that time between us and the two of them, built everything in here together. We obviously had to bring in a couple of people for some electrical and plumbing things, but most of the things that you see in here are done by our staff. And the fact that, they're still here is, it gave us the time to learn some new skills and put this thing together. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's how we ended up finding ourselves over in the Cole neighborhood, and this historic part of Denver that has been incredibly welcoming to, the wildness of what Yacht Club has become in a lot of ways. And they've, I think when you're opening a bar and you're part of this community, I think coming into a neighborhood and not listening to the neighborhood on what they need and what, what this community around us that we are kind of becoming a part of, needs more than what we need. I mean, obviously we brought our own vibe and the things that make us happy, but at the same time, it's an ongoing conversation with the people around us. We're in their home, their community that has now become, a massive part of our life. And we're just happy that we have this opportunity to, become a part of that community with them. So.
Yeah, for sure. It's always important to, like, I had a bar called Night Shift that we were also in the process of opening right before COVID happened. Then COVID happened, we had to stop building. So I totally understand everything that happened during that time as well. But definitely being part of the neighborhood is really important. For sure. And understanding where you're at, I think, is something that's super critical, because especially in Houston, there's a lot of bars that are opening and closing, and people don't consider the neighborhood they're putting them in. Like, you can't open a nightclub in a sleepy neighborhood. It's just wild, right?
And if we were doing $20 cocktails over here, like, we would we'd piss everyone off. It's like, that's part of, Yacht Club always had its parts and pieces of, like, wine's always been involved, and access and cheap, beer and shots and whatnot have always been a thing. But I think doubling down on, being a neighborhood bar, leading with the idea that we are accessible, that this is a place that you don't have to come here expecting to know everything about a progressive cocktail program or wine or whatever. You can, and nor are you going to be judged for anything, your decisions of why you're coming in here. We have a hot dog and a, Jack and Coke on the menu for $9 all day, every day. It'll be here forever. It's never going to be, something that is not offered, because we need people, one, to have access to these things that, whether they're coming in the afternoon or right after their shift's done and we're about to close, we offer the same things start to finish. And we want you to feel comfortable that something you want to come do multiple times a week, instead of like, oh, it's my special occasion, or we hope it's
definitely
that too.
Come as you are. Leave as happy as you can. Like, whatever mood, mood you're coming for, whatever purpose. That's, I think, that's the number one goal.
That's awesome. I think a lot of bars are starting to adapt that mentality. A lot of the better bars out there. It's not as pretentious anymore. It's more like, we want you to come here again. Go back to the hospitality aspect.
Right. And there's there's something to be said for having that very special experience of, like, a truly, like, over the top bespoke cocktail, one-on-one time, right, in this beautiful space. But that's not necessarily accessible. And certainly not for a lot of people, and most certainly not for several days out of the week. So I think the balance, having more balance in the industry, especially, or even balance within your own bar.
Exactly. You nailed it, because it's like, I think when we travel, especially, it's like, we love to experience a wide variety of things. I want to go out late. I want it to be loud and rowdy. And I also love to go get into go get fancied up and be taken care of and have a different side and see different styles of service, different styles of bartending, different, spaces, design, others. There's so many elements that are, that also that people, have the opportunity to bring certain elements of those into other spaces, right? Like, and that's part of this is like why we have so much wine and other, and we do take our service elements, or at least the attention to certain details in the way that we welcome
and
people
techniques
in,
and the drinks.
And techniques. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that are reserved for certain spaces that you kind of open the door up to those options being available to other people as well, and or other scenarios as well. And that's what I think part of, you know, what makes this place so special is that you can get a little bit of it all.
Yeah. This is a good segue. So let's talk a little bit about what Yacht Club is. So what is Yacht Club?
Yacht Club is an anti-club club. We are inclusive, not exclusive. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to repeat the thing.
Just repeat word for word. I mean,
oh my God, you angel. Thank you so much.
Just make sure that's the drip one. I believe that's the drip one.
Cool. Yeah.
But that was the last batch of drip.
Wow. Hey, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah,
cheers.
Saved. Alive again.
Yeah.
Hi.
Just the thought of drinking this, I've got energy.
Yacht Club, truly in all seriousness, Yacht Club is the anti-club club. And number one goal above anything else is to remain inclusive and not exclusive. It's flipping the idea of a traditional yacht club, something that's like maybe one of the most exclusive things or inaccessible things, and flipping it on its head and making it quite the opposite in every sense, right? It's for everyone, unless you're an asshole. There's no membership card. It comes with membership included. And we want this to feel like, you know, you're hanging out at your best friend's house, or like you're in a clubhouse chill.
People pay a lot of money to be around the people that they like to be around, where like, you know.
But that's, I mean, truly, that's where the name came from. And also, as a reference to the fact that in Yacht Club 1.0's location, we were like across the street from the Platte River, and the mighty Platte is like a few inches deep. And so it was like tongue in cheek. And we've always focused sort of on like coastal cocktails, you know, spirits that have traveled those waterways, and lots of rum, lots of Madeira. Things like that. So multi-purpose behind the name, but Yacht Club is the club for everyone.
Club for everyone. Cool. Awesome. And you guys talked about, you had the 3-prong approach. About with the concept was.
So that came from the pandemic as well. I would say it was. I mean, we've always been our passion.
Right? And it was always integrated into. I mean, even in 1.0,
it was always wine, cocktails, shots and beers, whatnot. But during the pandemic, like a lot of people, during lockdown, you're forced to sit with what you don't have, or you can't go do. And that makes you think about what you would go do or what you really miss. And for us, it was like equal parts. We miss being in a wine bar. We miss cocktails and, you know, that nerdiness, or like geeking out with people and like pushing ourselves. And we miss the dive bar, where it's like you walk in and you feel the history, you feel everyone before you. It might smell like shit, but it feels so good, right? Like it just is like this intoxicating thing. And when we were thinking about
it doesn't smell like shit, but
but so with Yacht Club 2.0, like those three things were non-negotiables. And so it became like, why is it a given? Why does it have to be a choice when you go out? Why do you have to go here for this or here for this? Why can't you go to a place that serves all moods and all people and all types? Because those are things that we wholeheartedly love and are passionate about. So
and I think like I mean, I think as we've both worked in different aspects of the restaurant industry, and you know, I think especially in the restaurant industry, more so as fine dining or things that have more food involved. Usually it's like you have your wine guy and you have your cocktail or your bartender, you know, and it's very separate.
Wine guy.
Wine.
My
God. No, but I mean, you have, you know, you've got your wine professionals and you've got your bar professionals, and there's usually a hard line drawn, and that it's usually the bar itself or whatever. But people kind of gatekeep their own information, or at least like create some form of like, this is what I do and this is what you do. And I think we've always, you know, both shared a passion for both of those things. And kind of look at it as like, why should they be separate? You know, at the end of the day, like one, I think a well-rounded like beverage professional should hopefully carry a bit of all of that in their back pocket.
And it is collaborative. Like there's no reason for it to not.
Yeah. I mean, and we look at it as like an opportunity, and we always talk about like wine as the access point of other delicious flavors, and it unlocks a lot of different things that, that we wouldn't otherwise be able to access. It softens things, it adds texture, tannin, acid, all these other elements, and also, helps, I think, sometimes you're dealing with much stronger spirits. So it's nice to have some things that soften those things and round out some of those flavor profiles.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, is like a house united is better than a house divided.
Exactly.
So using all of the things that we have already in house and the tools in our back pocket to
and
create.
just to be clear, when we're talking about a 3-prong approach, it is 3 hot dog prongs.
Yeah. That's great. I love it. And speaking of hot dogs, tell us a little bit about Hollywood Frank. How'd Hollywood Frank come around?
Hollywood Frank is a allegedly mythical person, hot dog person, if you will. So basically, we had to have food. In my opinion, a good bar has food, or at least a way to keep drinking, and to socialize or to get a meal, right? Whatever purpose it serves. And we're inherently limited by space, as McLain mentioned earlier. We don't have a kitchen. So that drastically narrows what we can do. Oysters that come up, but it's tough, right? We do Oyster Wednesdays because we have the best of the best coming in to do it. You're not doing it. But it's hard. There's a lot of risk with, health, cost, spoilage, things like that. So, we were like, maybe that's not ideal. What could be? And we, by no means, quite obviously so, did not start cocktails and hot dogs. There are many before us. Tubed meat and alcoholic beverages have been paired together for centuries to great success. And for us, it just happened to work. We could get a flat top. Hot dog is a unifying food. It works with what we were trying to do for people. One can be a snack or a meal, several more, obviously, always an option. Whatever you're fancy, it can be dressed up, dressed down. It was essentially the perfect canvas and drinking food for us. And so we decided to try it out, and the Hollywood Frank has become, I think, bigger than all of us. But so legend has it that it was a once ubiquitous hot dog chain, and that he fell on hard times, and Yacht Club bought the last remaining franchise of Hollywood Frank, and it is in this very bar right now.
That's awesome. Oh, that's great. I love it. And the hot dog's definitely very prevalent in all your branding, which is awesome. I love it.
So, I mean, it's become certainly both. Yeah. I mean, I feel like culturally, obviously, the hot dog knows no boundary.
It exists across almost every culture,
Yeah.
in whatever form or name. But most people love hot dogs too.
And it's also become, I mean, it's funny how it's I think just become people all love hot dogs again, or at least their love of hot dogs is fully known now.
And maybe that's post-pandemic, comfort or a recession indicator. Who knows? But it has existed for so long. And it's just, it's culturally, it's crazy the success that hot dogs are having right now. Good for hot dogs. I hope Big Hot Dog is happy. But at the end of the day, we just want to be able to offer something that is complimentary, but also feels good. And
and that we can manage as a team. I mean, it all happens behind the bar, just behind, essentially just off to the side of our wells. So, some nights you're grinding on hot dogs, some nights you're in a well, and it just kind of depends on where you find yourself or where you want to be that evening or whatever. But it's all, I mean, even if you are making drinks, certain, especially as an opener, as a closer, you're kind of pulling double duty back there, and it is something that is manageable on everyone's end, and it gives everybody, I mean, everyone gets to work up their knife skills a little bit more. We get to push a little bit of creativity and do something else
with ketchup and mustard on a hot dog.
Of course.
You get to dress as hot dogs.
There he is. Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about cocktails. So I know you and I talked briefly earlier when we were doing the photo shoot about how you brought in some farm to table stuff.
Sure.
So again, we talked about how this is a neighborhood bar. How have you guys integrated the neighborhood into your cocktails, your food?
Goodness.
What are you doing right now?
I mean, I would say right now, and I mean, it's sort of touching base on how we've always integrated wine as part of a big portion of our program. Every drink on our menu in some capacity features some form of wine, weather fortified dessert, or classically still, orange, sparkling, whatever.
Yeah.
Again, they're things that we have in house. So cross utilization of ingredients is always super important where we can. One, it helps us, with waste of byproduct and stuff, but it also, I think, gives us another talking point of like someone's maybe here for one or the other of those things, or out in generally. It's like, I don't really drink cocktails that much. I love wine, or I don't drink wine much. I'm more of a cocktail person.
Yeah.
For us, it's a way of kind of, again, breaking down some of those barriers that like wine deserves to be in this environment, not this one, or, you only drink dessert wine after dinner when this glass, and I don't really know why what am I even supposed to do with it?
Yeah.
And so for us, it's like an opportunity to utilize, and give more, I think, context for the things that we are pouring. So, right now the menu itself is highlighting that a little bit more, and really kind of playing on like, this is our wine list and our cocktail list, and the things that we are pouring by the glass are also in every one of our drinks. And so, I think we're hitting it home a little bit more within this right now, but at the end of the day, it's kind of always been about that. And so, it starts usually with what wines we're pouring, and then from there we kind of start, looking at, what drinks we need, whether it's a gap we need to fill, or what textures are we looking to accomplish, or, in the past we've done a little bit more like themed out menus beyond this that focus on, we did a menu that was all root vegetables of Colorado at one point. Our seasons here are very short, so we don't get like a ton of lengthy tomato season or strawberry season or whatever that may be. So usually we're kind of like, we deal with what we have in season. We get as much of the things as we can during that time period. We try to process things and be able to utilize them across different parts of the season as well. So like sometimes middle of winter when we haven't had a peach in a while, we have like in season fresh peach that we fermented or made a wine from that we, have been holding on to, or we froze, something that we were wanting to bring back into perspective. So there's always been an opportunity for us to like work within the means of the things that we have out here. But also working within like ingredient wise out here, but then also working within the other things that we always have in house that make our world go round. So, we're always I think we always have a source of inspiration. Usually that starts with some form of wine. And then from there we can talk about regions, again, certain specific ingredients and everything else that we want to do. So it's kind of endless sources.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you guys look at when you're selecting the wine? And then the other part of the question is, how do you approach cocktails? Like, what is your process of making and creating cocktails for the menu?
With wine, it's natural without being dogmatic. Where it exists on a spectrum, right? And I would say largely because there's no real definition. So for us, that's no additives. Organic at the very least, biodynamic preferable, things that are made with respect to who's making them, things that you would expect from most things that you care deeply about. I mean, wine is an agricultural product. And so the fact that those would not be important to people can be quite surprising. But I think at the very least, we want a wine that takes care of the earth, takes care of its people, and therefore takes care of our people. And so that's like at the very least. So by some standards, those are natural wines. But if you're very zealous about it, maybe that doesn't fit on your spectrum. So we work with benchmark producers that have always done it that way. We work with more fun, natch producers, the quirky, funky things that like I think scare some people and really thrill others. And those are really fun to work with in drinks as well, because then you get into textures and flavors that really, really make a cocktail pop, or like give a really nice like seasoning element. So I think that's where we start with our wine. And then with cocktails, like McLain mentioned, inspiration comes from anywhere. It could be the wine itself. It could be a dish that we ate. It could be a place we visited, a smell, a memory, a song,
Okay.
Yeah. Literally anything. Sorry. Deliveries coming in, I'm like, what do they need?
You're good. You're good. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think cocktails start, more and more so they tend to start with the wine. I mean, wine for could be music. It could be something, again, if our menu is themed harder, then it started with maybe the root vegetable but like wine, yeah. But I mean, wine is always a good jumping off point for us. I mean, it opens the door for so many things, whether it is art, cultural references, or, other things that grow alongside or classically are paired with those things, or, our individual
notes of the wine.
Yeah. I mean,
building those up or using them as inspiration.
Right. And like, I mean, it kind of, but it usually starts in that. And like when we kind of talk about, I think, split basics is is like a term that we kind of throw around internally of like, at its core, if we were taking a classic cocktail, the Yacht Club way would be to split that spirit, instead of it being full spirit, sugar, acid, like a daiquiri, or a margarita. Like maybe we would take that daiquiri and go like ounce of rum and an ounce of sherry or Madeira or whatever, and then look at, what acid did we bring? Do we need to bring the acid down, sugar up, because we're bringing a little more austerity, tannin, all these things, and we find our balance within that, depending on the wine or the other things that we're using. But the basic idea behind that is we take our base and we're splitting it with something that is going to add length, texture, softness, flavor, and help, bring something new to the table while also remaining very core, like true to its core. So, at its like most simple, we do a lot of split base things, and at its most complex, it can, be a days long, or rely on products that took us 6 months to get there, or whatever it may be. And at the end of the day, in the glass, hopefully it still feels down to earth.
So kind of leaning on more of that, like less ingredients, but taking those 4 ingredients and making them shine. Is kind of the philosophy.
100%. I mean, every once in a while, like, again, if we're doing like a classic punch, I mean, punch tends to have quite a few ingredients. So can 6, 8, whatever. And we do like to use, sometimes there are things that maybe we're not popping on the menu, like every ingredient that's in there, but like,
Some are seasonings.
like we like to use things as like salt and pepper or a seasoning type thing. Maybe we're not using salt or pepper, although we do use salt in quite a few things, but, using things as that, and peated whiskey or whatever it may be, to add a layer and not be the star of the show. And maybe it's not something that like, it's more of like, maybe it's
like
just something that we use internally to adjust something somewhere. And certainly, I mean,
for sure. We had that buttermilk cocktail last night. That was really good. The highball was really delicious.
The changes in attitude, or the
Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Oh my God! Like a buttermilk pina colada, carbonated, served as a highball. By way of scotch and Madeira.
Scotch and tropical.
It's all the. It's a multitude of ideas that kind of came out. I mean, I think at its easiest explanation, it's
grieving the loss of Jimmy Buffett at the time.
Yes, without a doubt. Always, in fact.
Yes.
Never not grieving Jimmy Buffett's loss.
But at the same time, I mean, I think as the name implies, it is a good. It's a bit of escapism, and does a good job of putting your mind in a different perspective and change that attitude a little bit. It does all the things it's supposed to. But I mean, at the end of the day too, when you have it, I think at its core, almost what it is, even though you're reading ingredients that might say slightly otherwise. At the end of the day, when you taste it, you're like, holy shit, this is like a fucking carbonated bubbly pina colada.
For sure. Are you guys seeing, this is another question I have for you, are you guys seeing more of an NA trend here in Denver? Because I see we went to one of the stores there down the road, and they had a whole wall of just NA replacements. Are you guys seeing a lot of trends here for
I
that?
would say, I mean, definitely more requests. But we don't have like, I would say ours is like a normal amount with all the other requests, maybe even just skewed depending on who's coming in that day. But on average, like not more by I don't think by most.
No, I mean, I look at, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I wouldn't even call it necessarily. I mean, I hope it's not necessarily a trend, at the end of the day. I hope people find a reason that they need to take care of themselves for one reason or another.
For sure.
And often with trends, it's like jump on board, go all the way back when it doesn't work out.
Exactly.
The pendulum
Right.
swings.
Yeah.
So in our minds, it's just part of a good program.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't drink for a number of different reasons, and maybe they want to have a cocktail that reminds them of something, and maybe they want the exact opposite of that.
They want a Gatorade in a can.
Or Diet Coke, or
for whatever reason, we want to be able to offer a variety of things without alcohol, and not solely focus on non-alcoholic cocktails, because we have lots of people that is triggering for. So it's a way for us to push ourselves and make something creative, but it's also a way for us to offer things that we just find fun or delicious, or that people have requested, things like that. We always have our Kool-Aid du jour, which is the Kool-Aid of the day. Gatorade in a can, I said. Anything like that. Over at Rougarou, we keep the Kool-Aid going. We do sweet tea, iced tea. Sorry, there's a fly trying to ruin my life right now. Just cheer wine, things like that. Anything we think works with what we believe in, what we find delicious, or what works with the program. We want it to all be cohesive and all part of the larger conversation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think, again, absolutely. I think people are finding other reasons to go out more. I think having access to things like, coffee later than, again, 2:00 in the afternoon is important.
But every time we talk about a trend, for us olds, it's we've seen sour beer, canned cocktails, the NA stuff. And it's all of this, it's everyone puts their money behind it, and there's so many. And you're holy shit, this is all we'll ever be forever. And then the bubble bursts and they all go bankrupt, or they all go away. And there's a few that remain. And so it's important to find out what you really like and believe in and want to work with.
And does it make sense in your program? Right? Do you have the ability to execute it? If carbonating and carbonating canning, or carbonating in a bottle, or whatever, does it help for service? Does it help with your brand identity? Is it something that y'all can roll into service and
want it. Do you believe in it?
Exactly.
And I think there's a place for all of these things. All every program is very different. Every space is very different. And I think, again, Yacht Club on a Wednesday afternoon is, it can be busy, but it can also be nice, and you get table service.
Bespoke cocktails, one-on-one time. And then
you come on a Friday night.
You might be shocked to your core at what you see, you
come on a Friday at 6:00, and it's nice and chill. You come back 3 hours later, and it's fucking upside down. People are on the bar top going,
it's clubby out yet. Okay.
And you are. It's all about fast service and making sure things that are getting into people's hands, but also with that attention to detail still. So it's for us, it goes from table service to high volume like that, and being able to, I think, offer the same feeling and quality is something that we've tried to focus on a lot here. Again, not making people still feel like, when it is insane, that they're recognized, that they're noticed, that they're welcomed in properly, that they know that we're going to be with them. And some of them know the routine a whole lot better than others do. So it's but nonetheless, it's still the same approach.
For sure. And I'm very excited to be here. I've been a long time listener. This is my first time here, so I'm very excited. So thank you all for being on.
Thank you for being here. Are you kidding me? This is so exciting for all of us, and it's so awesome to host y'all, and also to be your first podcast in a bar.
This is very exciting.
It's also our first podcast in the bar.
Awesome. That's great. Up on all of it. Okay. Awesome. So I know you briefly mentioned another concept you guys opened with your brother.
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it is called Rougarou, or Rougarou. There's been a lot of questions about the pronunciation, but Rougarou is the Rougarou itself is a cryptid shapeshifter. It's Cajun for werewolf, which is a riff on the French for werewolf, loup-garou. And in Cajun folklore, or in swamp tales, South Louisiana, all those parts, the Rougarou is both a cautionary tale and a source of mischief. It can be blamed on for things going missing. It can be if you don't behave, Rougarou will get you, all these things. If you see eyes, glowing, all, so it's a legend in its own right. And for us, we wanted Rougarou itself as a brand identity is a little swampy, a little bit rock and roll, but also piggybacking on that shape shifting lore, we refer to our project as Shape-Shifting Southern as a reference to the fact that the South and its food and its people are not monolithic. There's a lot of evolution and variances and things. People do things differently, or you grow up with them a little differently. They evolve over time. These are our versions of those things, of what we grew up with and what we really love, what we've encountered. And so that's Rougarou in a nutshell. And yes, my little brother John David, aka Mary Jr., is our executive. It's been a dream to do something together for a long time, and this is through the absolute test of will of opening, a business. The thing that's kept us all going is like this core belief in what we're doing and what we're putting out. And now that we're open, it's like this very content feeling. Like we're all just so like happy and proud with what we've put together. Together.
Yeah, for sure. What advice would you give to someone who's going to try and open something?
You will not open when they say you're going to open, or when you think you're going to open. I don't care who says what, you're wrong.
Yes,
McLain tends to be a dreamer, and I'm a realist, and I am rarely wrong in this. So be prepared to be prepared for uncertainty and for things to change. That is a given with every opening. That's possibly the only given.
Yes.
Other than that, or that being said, have a backup plan. Have a way that you can pivot without losing everything, or without losing your will, or your staff,
and don't do it for the trend.
No, do something that you believe in, so that when it does get hard, or when trends go away, you still have that core system, and those core values, because openings are the most hard. They are exhausting. They push every system to its breaking point. You see where every leak is. You have to change things constantly. It's a constant game of waiting. But at the end of the day, it's the ultimate reward. But then the real work begins, right? So it's not like, oh, we did it. Yay, rest. It's like, oh, push, go. Maybe rest one day. Or maybe have such a good team in place that you can take a break, step away, have a rest. That's the most ideal. But that's my best advice, is make sure you really want to do it, because you will be constantly questioned over and over about how much you wanted to keep doing it.
Yeah, for sure. With Night Shift, we were delayed 16 months for permit because they ripped down a wall and didn't pull the permit, and that was on our partner's end. But totally, you got to be ready for anything to happen.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Oh so, yeah. There's we went through quite a bit, and there's a number of people who are opening or in the process of trying to get open, and it's every day there's a new hurdle. Every person who maybe is coming in there to do your inspection is having a different day.
Oh yeah.
Or a lot of that shit is so asinine, but it's like you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, you
gotta grin and bear it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Relinquish control, and when
you can growl and bear it. Maybe.
Just give them the side eye as they walk out the door.
Yep.
For sure. Cool. Well, quick little rapid fire session. So let's see. We'll ask you a couple questions about freezer martini or stirred martini.
My lord.
How fast you try and drink?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. That's a good.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. I do love a really cold martini. That's such a tough one, because I can't give you I'm going to give you the long answer, unfortunately.
Don't go for it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Martinis are about dilution. So if it's really, really cold, you can, I think, mask a couple of things within that. As soon as it warms up, those things come out. And they sometimes can drastically change. I think if your dilution is proper and you can make a really cold, delicious martini that doesn't have to be put in a freezer. Amazing. I also love a freezer martini when they're done right and service is fast.
The time and care to make it perfect when you have it, and you get it so fast. So
I mean, when someone's modified their freezers and made everything perfect and thought it all out, and dilution is proper and everything is happening, it's tough to say that is not absolutely the way. At the same time, if you can make me a really fucking delicious martini a la minute, and I don't have, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the long answer. I'll take it either way.
There you go. That's a good one for sure. What was your
same
thing? Okay. Same response. It's okay.
What kind of do y'all want a dirty martini out of a freezer? I don't know. Maybe.
I've never seen one. That might be an idea.
Sometimes shake it up and just let me have it the wrong way, and I'm all about it.
Oh
sure.
yeah, an ice shard.
Yeah,
Hell yeah,
let's go.
For sure. So next question is Cadillo or espresso martini? Because that's
Cadillo
just
all day, every day.
Yeah.
The superior drink.
Superior drink, equal parts. Or would you switch it up?
I guess it depends on where I am.
Okay.
It's like, if I'm in if I'm in a craft cocktail bar, sure, I'd love to see how you rift this beautiful drink.
Yeah.
Especially if you believe in it. That's exciting and cool.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, just bang it up old fashioned style, like just classic, equal parts.
I think, it's like anyone who's got access to like actual espresso too, goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, awesome. Well, thank you all for being on. Where can people follow you if they want to reach out to you for any questions?
Godspeed if you want to send McLain a message. He'll get back to you in about a year.
Yeah, I'll write you an actual, exactly. Letters that pop them in a bottle and then they wash ashore one day.
Yeah, send your closest body of water.
Yeah.
For return.
Smoke singles.
Yeah. No, reach out to Mary.
McLain's Instagram handle is yesterday's wine. He does have one.
That's true. Blow it up. Follow me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Follow yesterday's
wine.
Mine is Eat, Drink, Be Merry, and McLain. It used to be Eat, Drink, Be Merry, Allison Wright, but I changed it. When we got married.
Okay.
Yeah, and kind of threw me a bone, knowing that I'm like really horrible. She's like, "All right, you're included in this social media thing." So yeah, I do kind of exist. Across multiple platforms.
Yeah, he's very multifaceted. And then we have Yacht Club Bar on Instagram. That's the handle. And then at Rougarou, Lerougarou.
Awesome.
Also, door prize.
It's coming back.
It is coming back.
It's coming back.
It'll come back.
We're
Okay.
still looking.
Yeah.
I'm excited when it comes back. Yeah.
We were looking for door prize when we found Yacht Club 2.0. We were looking for door prize when we found Rougarou Space. Like one day it'll be door prize for door prize.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And my last question for you is, what does the future hold for y'all? What is coming up for Yacht Club?
Door prize.
Door prize first. Yeah. The door prize first. Okay.
Door prize. I mean, that's
more dogs.
Yeah.
More travel.
Yeah.
More time with friends and family.
Yeah.
But also just being, I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
I was gonna hype.
Yeah. I know that's right. More travel. Like it's always about a balance. But right now we just got back from a really long trip and we're just so excited to actually be in the bar with the people.
Yeah.
And go to Rougarou later and see the people there.
Yeah.
And just be a part of it all.
It's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool.
More music.
Cool. Well, thank y'all both for being on.
Thank
for
you.
sure. Yeah. And okay. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Be sure and follow us on Cocktail Classified. And again, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.